Order accepted.
At the end of a game of Starcraft, you're taken to the Performance tab of the score screen. It's really important to be able to distinguish between metrics that matter and the metrics that have almost no meaning at all. Firstly, average unspent resources. The issue with this metric on its own is that there's no context. I just played a 1 minute and 29 second game against an AI and got 145 unspent resources. I can tell you right now that I spent almost no resources this game. I wasn't really paying attention to what was going on, and I wasn't playing well at all. To contrast, I could be playing a 30-minute macro game against a grandmaster opponent, play the best game of my life, and get 500 average unspent resources. The reason for this is that the average unspent resources metric is only useful when put in context of average income or average resources collected. Here we see a high-level 50-minute game. The average unspent resources are 366, 526. That's pretty high compared to what I just did. Does that make me better than these players? Absolutely not. This game was longer. It had a lot higher average income and more challenges. Which leads us to spending skill, where both of these players performed very well. You can read more about spending skill on GG Tracker. Basically, it takes the income that you're making and puts that average unspent resources in a better context, so it actually means something. Next up, we have time supply capped. This is a very effective standalone metric. There are a few instances where it's correct to supply block yourself. There are a couple of instances where it's impossible to avoid being supply blocked without bad play. The important thing to remember is the lower the time supply capped is, the better. But a score of 0 isn't necessarily perfect, so don't worry if you don't make it there. Workers created is another one of those half-useful metrics. Without any context, it's useless. I made 8 workers. Great. It was a 1 minute and 29 second game. Maybe I could have made 10 workers. If it was a 30-minute game and I made 8 workers, that would be terrible. You're pretty much better off completely disregarding this number at all points in time. Now we get to find out what I did do for 1 minute and 29 seconds, which is spam APM. The following is a generally deceiving statement. The APM metric is positively correlated with skill. This does not mean that the higher you get your APM, the higher your skill will be. It does, however, mean that the higher your skill is, the higher your APM will likely be. Workers created counts the initial 6 workers, so that means in 1 minute and 29 seconds, I used 521 actions per minute to make 2 workers. APM is a great way to keep track of your progress if you don't spam. The more that you spam, the less meaningful APM becomes. If you're looking for even more ways to track your progress, I highly recommend checking out SC2 gears. It's important to remember that the Starcraft 2 ladder will place you against opponents that you will win against 50% of the time, meaning that looking at your wins or losses isn't really an accurate measure of how well you're progressing as a player. Without meaningful metrics, it can feel like you're plateauing or stuck in a certain league. But as long as you're focusing and putting the time in, this is almost never the case. Understanding metrics can provide for you the needed motivation to get from league to league. So start keeping track of your progress, and you'll probably end up having more fun and being more motivated to play StarCraft 2 than you ever have before. My name is Jack Attack, and as always, thanks for watching. If you have an idea for a video you'd like us to do, please leave it with any questions, comments, criticisms, concerns, or anything beginning with the letter C in the comment section below, and we'll see you again soon.